I work for IDH as a director, Learning and Innovation, and it's a real pleasure to be here. Let me very shortly introduce what we're doing as IDH before I go into, I think, a very exciting session about digitalization of agriculture value chains. So IDH, we're an international organization. We're working closely together with the private sector and with public partners to make agriculture value chains more sustainable. More sustainable for farmers, more sustainable for the environment, but also more sustainable for the companies that are working in those value chains. We support companies to link them up with companies like you to see, okay, how can they use technology to improve their business, but also improve smallholder livelihoods. So what are we then concretely doing? We're identifying use cases, we're creating this linkage with technology providers and supporting partners, and we have the opportunity to co-fund implementation. And we think, so we're working together with input suppliers, with off-takers, with brands, with retailers. And we think that technology can help them to offer new services to smallholder farmers. It can help them to scale their existing operations. It can definitely help to reduce costs and risks and increase revenue. So why this session today? So when we talk about digitalization of agriculture value chains, what do we mean? So if you look at the needs of farmers, farmers have needs for information, for knowledge. They have needs for having access to inputs, the right inputs. They have a need for access to finance, both for their agricultural activities as well as for their household activities. And they have a need to have access to markets. Also, the companies that are working with them have needs on farmer management data to really well run their operations, have needs for traceability because their customers ask for traceability. And if you think about digitization of value chains, it happens both at the farmer level as well as at the level of those other value chain players. So you can think about precision farming using sensors, you can think about digital financial services, you can think about e-commerce platforms, and we will have a couple of very interesting speakers who will tell you more about it. So what's the aim of this session? So the aim of this session is to learn, and I hope you will leave inspired about innovative examples of digitization. And I think with a very strong panel, discuss how policymakers and regulators can actually work with the private sector to create an environment that supports this digitization. So we will start the session with 3 keynote speakers that all have pretty different examples and use cases of technology. So we're starting with a blockchain example, and my colleague said AgriLedger is maybe the ideal showcase for real-world blockchain. Let's learn more about that with Genevieve. Then we have another example where there is a platform where sponsors and farmers are being linked. So we have Agrícola of Farm Crowdy enlightening us about how they're doing that. We have another keynote speaker, Kane from Twiga, and my colleague said, well, there may be the Amazon of fruits and veg in Kenya. After each keynote speaker, we will see whether we have time for a few questions before we move into the panel discussion. In the panel discussion, we will have a couple of guiding questions, and then we're happy to open it up to you to participate in the discussion and share your questions. So I would like to move to the first keynote speaker. I'm very pleased to have with us Genevieve Leveille. She's the principal founder and CEO of AgriLedger. And I think she has found a very interesting way on how to contribute to improving livelihoods through using a digital ledger technology. So I would like to invite Genevieve to come here and inform us about your approach, how it's innovative, and what it actually can do for smallholder farmers.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm from AgriLedger in Genevieve, and I'm going to be talking to you about the digitalization of agriculture value chain. So, do you guys know what percentage of $3 mango a Haitian farmer makes? 2%. 98% of it is lost to either the value chain not being very transparent, or the fact that they're not able to get it to the right markets. So imagine a world where you could take seconds to find out how much you paid at your grocery shop. And we're going to be working on doing that with the World Bank in Haiti right now. So blockchains are really disrupting the supply chain. Every day we're getting more and more information telling us about this whole idea of traceability. And Gartner does believe that this is going to be a 3.1 trillion business. So it is imperative for everyone to be looking at this system to be able, so companies who don't participate will be disrupted. And so it's important. Walmart was able to show traceability where they were looking at a mango bed, and it took them 6 weeks by paper to figure it out, and it was less than 2 seconds with the blockchain. So food today in our world, we have had many systems which are looking at really the whole idea of food safety, and somehow they're failing. More and more we are needing to have this information. Foodborne disease are killing. There's about 600 million people who fall ill every year from foodborne disease. This is from the FAO. But 420,000 of them die, and 40% of the number is actually children. So 125,000 children are dying from foodborne disease. And think about what this is doing to our society, or the growth of our society. Now, there is a lot of emerging technology coming in. You have satellite sensoring. So next month, I think in the next couple of weeks, there is going to be Sentinel-3 going up, which is going to allow to be able to measure the water content on the earth at the 3x3 level. We have a lot of genetic tailoring which is happening for new food, and even better improvement in food processing. And my point of view is that using things like the distributed ledger technology, we can actually create trust in this and really provide better food sustainability for the world. Because what's happening is actually 80% of the food grown locally, mostly in Asia and Africa, is done by smallholder farmers. The problem there is that they do not have access to the right markets, and even if they grow the food with the right practices, they're unable to prove that. So this is what we're looking to do, is a way to be able to prove that. The other thing is that their access to market is limited. And finally, 20% of the food never makes it. We talk about food safety and food security. Food security is something which is huge. It's really what the FAO described this as being the ability for everyone to have enough food to feed themselves. We actually have enough. The problem is that we're not getting it to the right places. So what we're proposing is really integration of existing system using digital technology, mobile technology, and we do know that there are going to be certain limitations where not everybody has a smartphone, but if we look at most places in Africa, we're looking at almost 80% penetration by 2020, and eventually also the system does need to be able to take SMS, but there are ways, we know that there are ways toward bridging that. So this is about information sharing, making sure that you have the KYC, because we do know where you need to know where it came from, and then using the blockchain channels and also the supply chain. So we are working with a traditional tracing company, which is SourceTrace, to be able to deliver these outcomes. Now, I believe there are 3 bases which are very important for the farmer. First is the production. Being able to safely get to production and get those production in place is something which is important for them. So getting access to the inputs just on time will help them in creating the right liquidity for them. The other issues around delivery. many a time the delivery, the logistics system are not in place, and they are also littered with what I would call unprincipled actors. I don't want to say that all middlemen are to be gone, but I think this is really about making sure, as with all projects, that we have the right stakeholders at the table and everyone knows their accountabilities and responsibility. So it's really about bringing in that information. And this is where it's very important to really look at policies, because that's what's the global policies and also the local policies is what's going to help drive that, to make sure that the systems are put in place. Then sales. The sales is how do we get further access to market? And that's why I'm going to be very interested in what Audrey is doing in terms of really connecting the producers to the buyers. But what's very important though is we need to do it where we're looking toward moving more towards what I would call the Dutch market, where there isn't this idea of pre-buying, because this is what's also killing the farmers. If you're allowed to where they are demanding or are taking those demands for lower prices, they don't get to benefit from the upstream. So one of the things that we're doing is we're working with the World Bank in Haiti to create this mechanism whereby the farmer takes on more of the entrepreneurship aspect, and as such also has the benefits from that. So the agriculture is really a solution, is a full end-to-end traceability, and which provide transparency not only at the farmer level but also at the customer, and it's about integration of everything that is out there, the geotag, the mobile payment, and all of those sensors. So one of the projects that I'm working on also is about really contributing to the local food economy in China. So we have Mr. Liang Fan, which is in the house with us, is my partner from China. And we are going to be looking to trace this rice, which is the Ruchang rice. It's one of the most sought after rice because it's only about 9 months. It's one harvest only. And the price can be fluctuating between 5 to 10 times, depending. So really, this is about creating the traceability to manage brand and also allow. So there's going to be about 100 farmers, and he's got about 45,000 members who are buying this. Now, what it is going to be so he has 5,000 hectares on basically growing this rice. They do about 12,000 tons of rice a year, and only 45% of it makes it to market. So how do we get that production to increase? And I should also say the farmers actually own the land, and they are contracted by Mr. Fan to basically deliver. So it's really about empowerment. So whatever, he will have transparency in what he gets, which means that the farmers will participate in that. So that's all. Thank you very much. And if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to take them. Yes. Yes. Thank you.